There we go. All right, so let's get started. Just a couple housekeeping items. Participants will be muted, but we encourage you to raise your hand and use the chat box for any questions that you have. We also welcome you to have your cameras on if you feel comfortable. Just be sure to go to the upper right-hand corner on view and click on the view speakers to have the speakers box or image on your screen at all times. So welcome to this presentation, UNCG Latinx Students and Mental Health. My name is Yubi Aranda Sandoval. I am an Assistant Director in the Office of Alumni Engagement. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our guest speakers, Cecilia Barber, Claudio Caceres, and Julisa Ramirez Gonzalez. Cecilia Barber is a LCMHCA. She was born in Mexico and immigrated to North Carolina over 20 years ago. She is a UNCG alumna, majored in liberal arts and concentrated in with a concentration in psychology. Prior to working as a clinical counselor, she was an advocate for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault in Randolph and Chatham counties. During her clinical work, she worked with families and individuals from all walks of life, including underserved minority populations, immigrants, and people who suffered from substance use disorder. In May 2021, Cecilia joined the UNCG Counseling Center team. She is honored and feels very excited to provide counseling services to such a diverse student body during their college experience and life transition. In her free time, she enjoys working with in her yard with her husband, watching anime with her daughter, swimming and exercising, and playing Japanese drums with her friends. Thank you, Cecilia, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now we have Claudio Andres Caceres, who was born and raised in Santiago, Chile, and moved to the United States in 2009. He has lived in North Carolina since then. In Santiago, he worked in rural and urban areas with different communities, including children, youth, and families dealing with poverty and social vulnerability. When he moved to the US, he wanted to continue practicing social work and was able to obtain his master's degree in social work at UNC Chapel Hill in 2013. He began practicing clinical work and has enjoyed working with organizations such as El Pueblo, community outreach, and community health centers as a behavioral health consultant. He is also very excited to start his new journey here at UNCG in the Counseling Center and is eager to contribute to the students' well-being and provide mental health support. Regarding his personal self-care, he enjoys playing and watching soccer, practicing martial arts, and taking trips to the beach or the North Carolina mountains, spending time with family and chatting or video calling his Chilean family and friends. So thank you, Claudio, for joining us.
Muchas gracias.
Last but not least, we have Julisa Ramirez Gonzalez. She was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. Her parents are from Hidalgo, Mexico. She is the second oldest of 4 children and the first to attend a 4-year university. She is a senior majoring in human development and family studies with a minor in anthropology. During her free time, she likes to read books, hang out with friends, and make embroidered canvases. Julisa, thank you for joining us. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as you can see, these are our panelists, and we have such a great conversation to begin. So I wanted to push this this first question to any of our panelists who would like to jump in. But if you, any of our audience would like to ask a question, please feel free to jump in and put it in the chat, and we will get to those shortly. So let's get started. Our first question: why do you think it's hard for Latinx students to seek counseling?
Yes, I would like to answer that question. I think that cultural beliefs surrounding mental health could potentially be a barrier for Latinx students to get engaged in services. The fear of bringing shame to the family, and the idea that if there's something wrong with me, it could be that there's something wrong with my whole family, which creates a stigma. The stigma of counseling is only for gente loca, the crazy people. And also another barrier could be that there's a scarcity of bilingual and culturally sensitive counselors, especially at the college level. And so some students may feel vulnerable to be misunderstood or judged by counselors who do not share their same experiences.
And you guys are welcome to give your opinion as well.
Yes, please do. If you would like to chime into the conversation as a student, as a Latina individual, please do feel free to join. Claudio or Julissa, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I do agree that stigma can be one of the biggest complications for Latino students to approach to counseling or to get therapy. I have heard in the past from the Hispanic community in general, like, oh, I don't need to go to therapy, or I have friends, or I have my family, or my friends are gonna think this or that. So certainly stigma can be a big reason for not seeking therapy, but just have this opportunity to say everybody can have access to therapy. Therapy is something normal that everybody should access, because there's not necessarily to have a problem anyway, or a situation to go to therapy. Sometimes it's good just to talk with someone, get feedback, learn from others, and I think our Hispanic community should access to the services too. And that's why Cecilia and I are here. So you guys can see our faces.
Yeah. And yet these are some of the barriers that they may face, but of course they may be other ones that we haven't thought about.
Right.
Is that I would also like to agree that there's like a lot of stigma surrounding like counseling and therapy within the Latinx community, because like I know for me, like I'm finally going to counseling here at the UNCG center. I go with Cecilia, she's amazing. So like if you ever want to go with her, or Claudia. I haven't gone with you, but like I mean, I'm pretty sure you're great too. And for me, it's been really hard to tell my parents I'm going, because whenever I try to talk to them about my problems, they like kind of like ignore me, saying that, oh well, you're just over exaggerating, like exageras mucho and stuff like that. So for me, I can't really be open with them about it. But here, someone who's actually part of your culture and understands you. Because I remember my first semester here at UNCG, I went to the counseling center and I had this lady who was outside of my ethnic group, and for me, she just didn't. I feel like I just couldn't be as open to her about it that I am now, and I'm just so grateful that UNCG now has these resources and has like Latinx people here to be here to help you.
Thank you guys. And there's this sense in our culture, and I've heard this many times, of sacando los trapitos al sol, taking out the little things of our family, the little secrets of our family, and putting them out into somebody who doesn't know you. So that's a big no-no in our community, and to do that, it just feels foreign to some people, and it shouldn't be done, because that's how we were raised. You don't tell your secrets or tell your story to somebody else, because it's very personal. And then also the let me pause for a minute and explain this cultural background thing, so that you can understand, so that this counselor can understand me, of where I'm coming from. And then we resume my session. It feels like I just lost 15 minutes of that session with with my counselor, trying to explain this cultural thing. And it can be, a little draining in that sense of hitting that pause button. Let me explain to you. Okay, let's resume, and picking up. So yes, definitely. There are some issues why some students or Latino community members don't seek counseling. So what are common struggles that students come across during college? And are they the same or different from their peers?
If I may, I would like to say that, of course, across the board, college is a life transition. So there's a lot of anxiety, depression, living in a new environment, new people, new schedules. I mean, that's a big stressor across the board. Those are the common struggles. Students come here and sometimes they have body image problems, time management problems. For the first time, they have to face challenges that before it was more like a parental or family issue, and also issues related to gender dysphoria. Those are across the board. But what I've seen for with the Latinx population, there's a lot of pressure, especially in the family expectations. Sometimes to be in first generation student, and that obligation of having to succeed, to be successful in school, and then getting a good job, good paid job, and to accomplish the American dream. That's something that the Latinx have that is different, right? Because they witness their parents struggling so much to get to this country. So it's something that they're very aware of. My parents make these sacrifices, so I need to be successful to help the family. And it's something that it may not be across the board. Or some other cultures may have kind of the same pressure, but this is something the Latinx community is experiencing. That's one of the struggles that they may face. I don't know if Claudia wants to add. There's more struggles.
To add to that, I would say that since Cecilia mentioned that pressure from family sometimes can be like a kind of like a healthy pressure or an unhealthy pressure depending on the parents, right? Sometimes can be, oh, you need to do this career, you need to finish this, or others are more like proud of the fact that the child or the grandchild is going to the university for the first time. But so I would say take it easy, try to do the best you can, try to be yourself, focusing on the present, enjoying what you're doing, and also have the courage for saying, no, this is not what I really like, or I want to switch a career, or want to do something different. Latinos and non-Latino students always go to struggles with this, going to first time to the university, right? But we do know the background. We do know that some families are coming from certain places, immigration, or struggles with work and money, etc. So I would say try to do the best you can during the time of transition. Transition is a stressful part of life in general, like in every transition. I mean, many of you probably, I'm not sure your ages, but some of you might be 18, 20, 22. A few years ago, you were a teenager. So it's a big transition in general, period. I'm 41 and I feel like I'm going into a different transition now in life. So I think transitions are important, and yeah.
Yes, like I also agree that transitioning is also like an important thing that impacts us, because I know for me, I'm the first person to go to college. I know my dad and my mom, they were, oh, she's going to the UNCG, and I was like the first one in my family. So I really let that affect me, and it got into my head that I have to be like the perfect student, get all the good grades. So for me, my first 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in my room, go to class, the library, and they like had that same cycle that I just couldn't break it. That I barely had any friends. So like, even though I was doing good academically, I didn't have any connections. And it wasn't until like over the summer where I like met people through chance. And for me, like I opened up about part of my story and stuff like that, where I just let out a lot of like just personal stuff. And for me, I felt so supportive. I felt like so loved and appreciated in that community. And that caused me to like open up to Margarita about it, who connected me to the counseling center. And it's like little by little, the more you open up, the better it gets. So for me, I feel like even though there are struggles, like you can also find like something positive out of it.
And I'd just like to add to the conversation that also I have observed that Latinx students sometimes are still responsible, as Julissa was mentioning, responsible for family tasks. Even though they live on campus, they still go back home and they're expected to take care of other family obligations. That's what I have observed. Like we are more Hispanic families, we're more overprotecting our children, And so there's not this, they don't have the same sense of independence that maybe other students have. And also some parents, you know, having the fear of losing their children to another culture. The Latinx students are living in two different cultures. So at home, they're the Hispanic students or children, and here they are the Latinx student that is supposed to fit in with the American culture. And also I have observed that some Latinx students are facing, you know, different childhood experiences, as Claudia was mentioning, with immigration, acculturization, trauma, and generational conflicts. Because they're, as I said, I mean, at home, they have to sometimes explain to their parents what they're going through in college, which is a different culture. And sometimes that creates conflict, which in this doesn't happen in other with their peers or some of their peers. I'm not going to say about all the cultures because I'm sure that it happens. And also what I have noticed is that some of the Latinx students, I mean, they lack guidance from parents. They lack role models in high school, or mentors or counselors when they're undertaking the college selection and application process. So so that's different, right, from the rest of the population, because they don't have that role model. And sometimes their families, since they haven't had the experience of college, it's kind of hard to understand what their children are going through. So I will say that that's one of the big differences sometimes.
Yes, that is very much true. There are definitely differences of opinion of, I am here and I see myself in this particular way in college. And then when I'm at home, I have to transition to this other persona because it fits who I am there. And so then the thing is, we don't ever feel like we're fully our authentic selves in any space that we are taking up. And so that kind of puts like an added layer of who am I really? And then there's these conversations that can keep going, you know, of rediscovering who you are or where you are going. So we do have a question in the chat, and it is the following. How often do we, how often and what do you guys do for self-care? I feel guilty whenever I take time for myself or do self-care because growing up in a Hispanic household, it is always about being productive and grinding. So it's hard to disassociate from that belief whenever you find yourself, when you need to find yourself needing to recharge.
I would like to respond this question. It's a very good question. Thank you for whoever asked the question. And I feel very connected with that experience because, long story short, when I came to the US, I had to get into the master program. I applied to the program, I got into the program. It was the first time for me studying at the university. It was very stressful. Something that it worked for me, and I think we should do in general is for self-care is, you know, take breaks from school. It's good for you to do, you know, your papers, study, take 2 hours, 3 hours. But when you're feeling your brain, you know, burning and you feel tired, you know, it's okay. It's okay to go for a run, do exercise. If you feel tired, take a 30-minute nap or so, call a friend, take your pet for a walk, take care of yourself, because otherwise we might end up burnout. And the best way of being productive is being okay with yourself. Have your brain fresh and feel with your body energetic. When you go for a run or do exercise and then you come back, you feel with having new ideas, feel fresh to continue doing your work. So always pace yourself.
Yeah, I would like to add some students come up with their own self-care activities like journaling, exercising. It's whatever makes you feel good about yourself. And about the guilty part, I think that that's why we're here, for you to explore why you're feeling guilty about taking care of yourself, if it's a cultural issue or if it's something that is more than that. So we're here so that you can explore that about the guilt that you're feeling. But yes, as Claudio was saying, there's a lot of things that students are discovering that they can do to take care of themselves, breathing exercises, dancing, anything that is a break, like Claudio was saying.
And that's important, like you mentioned, the guilt. Where is the guilt coming from? Is that what kind of guilt do I have? What is that guilt coming from? Is it because of what my parents are saying? Is it because of what I think about myself? Is it the culture? And these are topics actually that you can talk with a therapist in a session.
Yes, like also me, I feel really guilty when I take care of myself because I've always been pressured to, oh, you have to be the best, you have to be the best, you have to do all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I know I have to, but now I'm like at a position where I feel so burnt out and tired. But like now I'm like trying to take breaks, like I meditate, like I do embroidered canvases, I journal a lot. And sometimes like even like I know a lot of us have social media, so even like having a Finsta helps you. Like for me, I post like every day on my Finsta, like a photo of them, like the pictures that I really like, something that sticks out to me that I reflect on it, like that really helps me. I also like to hang out with my friends. Like even though like before I didn't have any friends or a lot of friends, I hang out with it because it makes me feel comfortable knowing that someone is there to support me. So like never like feel ashamed or feel guilty for taking breaks because you have to prioritize yourself before you prioritize other people. I know that you may feel like you may like upset your family that you're not always working and grinding or whatever, but I mean you are the most precious thing to yourself and you have to take care of yourself.
This is great advice. Even as an adult, you know, I'm a mom, and it is hard for me to completely unplug from my family because I feel like that has been ingrained in me. Like the mom is supposed to be at home, taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, taking care of this and that and the other. And for me to really say, I'm going to go and have a coffee with a friend, it is very, very hard. So I can absolutely, understand how that mentality, and growing up, it was that saying, an unoccupied mind is only stirring up trouble or something like along those lines. But it's not always true. You can be unoccupied and be taking care of yourself, which is the best way to recharge. So thank you, Julissa, for sharing your story. We had a hand raised here.
Yeah, it was
Isabel
me.
was-
Hi.
Hi.
How are y'all?
Good. How about you, Elizabeth?
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to add to that. I think one of the ways I practice self-care is working out. Like I've been really like trying to take time at least once a week to like go work out at the gym, and I enjoy like lifting weights. It's really been beneficial for me. And at first I did it for self-care, but like for my mental health, of course. But and I think as I started going like in the beginning of this year, and it kind of, I don't know, I was able to like get stronger mentally. And it's like, the more you start lifting, the easier it gets. And then you just kind of like challenge yourself to lift more weights. And so it's just, it's just a little thing that I did, and I really enjoy it. And just like you, I'm gonna call you UV. Like she said, I'm a mom. I'm also a mother, and so like I have a 3-year-old, and being a college student full time is very difficult. And so I oftentimes like I feel guilty, like, and I'm also a single mother, so like just having to drop off my baby at his grandmother's house so I can like have time for me, like that. Like sometimes I'm like on my way there already feeling guilty. And then I'm at the coffee shop or wherever I'm at about to study, and I feel guilty. And I'm like, I could be with my baby. So but then I also like I have to tell myself like I need this time alone, because I notice whenever I'm just like spending like just devoted to my son, which I am, and don't take any time for myself, like I start turning into this monster, I guess you could say. And so like, and I'm like, okay, Ellie, it's time for you to like just take a break. You need to go drop the child off and let him go. He's gonna be okay, and go do your thing. But it's, and I just started practicing this now. I'm also like my baby's only 3, so like it takes a while to adjust to being a mother. So, but then, you know, but you have to really just give yourself time, because you won't be able to really just succeed in general, not just in school, but in your work and in your relationships with others. Like, so yeah, that's it. I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say for now.
Thank
So
you,
I just-
Elizabeth. That was
yeah.
very, very brave of you. Thank you for sharing. Cecilia?
Yeah, I just want to add, as Elizabeth was saying, if we don't take care of yourselves, we are not able to take care of others. Like when we are in a flight, if you remember, they say if the oxygen mask drops, the first thing that you have to do is take care of yourself. If not, you won't be able to take care of the others around you. So just to talking about feeling guilty. So if you don't take care of yourself, then you're gonna break down, and then somebody will have to take care of you. And then you may feel more guilty. Just think it that way. And I was just gonna mention, you know, Tina Vars from ORS is saying, you know, that about their accommodations that could also help you to take care of yourself, to use the self-care. And thank you so much, Tina, for sharing that information. Everything is confidential. And so it will be good to make an appointment just to find out what they can do for you. Thank you.
In terms of confidentiality, also therapy is confidential. If a student wants to come and talk to us, everything is confidential. There are some extreme exceptions for safety sometimes, but yeah, these are topics that can be discussed in individual therapy.
Talking about the center, let's dive into what is the Counseling Center. Cecilia, Claudio, tell us about the Counseling Center and what you guys are offering to the students.
You're muted.
Can I share my screen for the, it's a very short
Yes.
presentation. Would that be okay? Okay.
Yes.
Let me share my screen.
We will go through our presentation to make sure we have it. We're going to be very brief because some of the things have been already discussed.
Yes, and there's more questions in the chat that I would love to get to, but I do want you guys to please dive into the Counseling Center, and then we'll go back to your questions for the audience that are out there.
So we're gonna go through this. Can you see my screen now? The Counseling Center and you in your mental health?
Yes.
Okay. So pretty much college and mental health. I mean, as we mentioned, college is a life transition. And Claudio, you can talk a little bit about, well, you already talked about self-care and the support network. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, just saying what we already said. Self-care is very important for life transitions and having a support network with family, with friends, and protect our emotional well-being. Yes, that's all I have to say because I think we covered very well. Yes.
So these are just a few facts about college and your mental health. The facts we're taking this from the JET Foundation 2020 survey. So anxiety was the #1 symptom among college students across the country, was 82%. And depression ranked as the top impediment to academic success.
Yes, 1 in 5 college students, 19%, have had suicidal thoughts in a given month. Stigma is the #1 reason the students do not seek help. And we have talked a little bit about stigma already. So let's continue.
Yeah. Claudio, would you like to share this?
Yes. So the UNCG Counseling Center, we have hours for operation Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. We are closed on the weekends. However, after hours, after 5 o'clock, Monday to Friday, and all the weekends, we have a system that's called Protocol, where you can call and you can still get a therapist. It's not going to be a therapist that work here in the counseling center, but someone to cover those hours. And in case of emergency, you can call the campus police if there is a crisis, or you know that a classmate of yours or a friend of yours is having extreme thoughts. You have campus police as well, 336-334-4444.
And this is our beautiful building located at 107 Great Drive, 2nd floor. So you go through the double doors, and then the first thing that you do is use the elevator to the left. You don't have to let the front desk know that you are here. So you take the elevator to the second floor, you go down the hallway, we are on the left. And so this is the building for you to get familiar with it. And these are some of the services. We do a screening and assessment. We first talk to the student to see we can meet their needs, or if they need a higher level of care. Our therapy is short-term individual counseling and is solution-focused therapy, because we only have 1 semester to take care of their symptoms, and it has to be fast. So students who need more a higher level of care, we do the referrals, which Claudio will talk about it. And then we also do group therapy and wellness and skill building workshops. If you go to the to our website, you can see all the information there. Claudio?
Yes, we are about 10 therapists here at the Counseling Center. We all take turns for working hours. So that means that everybody can access immediately to services if someone is wanting to talk with a therapist. Not necessarily have to be a crisis, but you feel like you need to talk with somebody, you can come. We take turns. We also focus on suicidal prevention. We do case management when there are many things going on in the student's life. We also have a staff member here that do case management, and then she helps out to navigate resources. We also provide outreach activities. Sometimes residents hold contact us or any other organizations in the university because they want to learn more about an activity or want to talk more about the counseling center. Such as this activity, for example, is an outreach activity. Or refer to community services, like Cecilia says. Sometimes there are high level of cares, or sometimes a student might be like, listen, I want therapy, but I would like to see you every single week. And unfortunately, we cannot do that. In average, we see students every 2 weeks, in average, sometimes every 3 weeks, mostly every 2 weeks, but still, like someone might want to have a therapist outside the community, then we do referrals.
Thank you, Claudio. And Claudio, you can go ahead.
Yes, and this, so the counseling center, we have different providers, let's say different professionals, licensed mental health professionals, licensed addiction specialists, psychiatrists, graduate trainees from the school. So social workers, psychologists, we're all different. I know that sometimes can be confusing. So that's why we call ourselves counselors instead of like, dividing each profession, but just so you know. And we have psychiatry as well, and we have more psychiatry services probably available for next year.
Thank you. So our purpose is to support and challenge personal growth, academic success, and emotional health. And also we want to promote positive mental health throughout the community, the college community, and reduce the stigma associated with the mental health services. That's our purpose.
We also have a bunch of groups, workshops, and self-help apps other than individual therapy. So pay attention to that. You can find all this information in the Counseling Center website. There are, in the middle of the page, these like applications that you can read or go through. Some of them says groups, some others says workshops. Some examples that we wrote here is like Body Wise for groups, Spartan Blues, Sister Talk, Spartan Men. It's complicated. These are names that we use for our groups, but are for aim to discuss certain topics: depression, anxiety, self-image, complications with family dynamics, etc. We also have workshops. These are like one time every now and then opportunities for students to, anxiety toolbox, weekly mindfulness and meditation, body project, distress tolerance, etc. And then finally, we have self-help apps. We have a bunch of apps for anxiety, sleep, meditation, mindfulness, mood tracker. And one of the main ones is WellTrack. WellTrack is an application that you can download in your phone, or you can go to the website and use your username and password for UNCG, and then access to this personal navigation of mental health. It's really worth to try.
I just want to add that next semester, Claudia and I, we're gonna co-facilitate a group for Latinx students. And so this is coming next semester. And we are very happy because this could be in Spanish, English, in Spanglish. And so and it's going to be for the first time that we're going to have this group for next semester.
Yes, don't forget that we speak Spanish, and if you feel more comfortable speaking Spanish, or you want to practice your Spanish or your Spanglish, we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, the recommended next steps is to follow us on Instagram, and that is the address UNCG_counseling center, or also you can visit our website at the shs.uncg.edu/cc, or give us a call at the number that is in your screen. We are here from Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, or you can come in person. And here are our names. I'm gonna leave this for a few more moments. So if you need to take a picture, a screenshot or of that information. And this is the end of the presentation. Thank you. So I'm gonna stop sharing, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for that information. I think that was very much helpful for those that are wanting to know more about the Counseling Center or need to connect with you guys. You have that information there. And Claudio, Cecilia, if you don't mind putting your email or the best way to contact you in the chat box, that might be helpful for those that may want to do that as well. So moving into our next question I have here, what is the point of self-care? We talk about it often and mention it in the need for it, but what does it mean and what is the end goal?
So we're talking about self-care. Pretty much, you know, college life is so stressful. It's one of the life transitions, one of the most important ones. So here's where you're gonna meet maybe your best friends for the rest of your life, maybe the future employer, your future partner, we don't know, right? So if you don't take care of yourself, as we mentioned before, is going to affect your academic life, your personal life. And here's where you're gonna pretty much start facing a lot of issues with relationships and identity, body image, time management. So there's a lot of things that students are facing in college. So, and if you don't take care of yourself, as we mentioned, is just kind of like, it's not gonna help you with the stress, to manage the stress. And as I said before, you have to help yourself before you take care of others. And in the Hispanic communities, we tend to be family oriented. So some of the students say, you know, I'm still taking care of my parents. They depend on me. I'm the translator of the family. I'm the one taking care of the family issues, legal issues, because I'm the one in college. I'm supposed to be smart. I'm supposed to have all of these problem solving skills. So they're depending on me. So, but yes, you are the caretaker of your family. But if you don't take care of yourself, then a lot of issues of anxiety, especially panic attacks. There's a lot of students with panic attacks. And especially around this time with the pandemic, there has been a greater percentage of students feeling anxiety and depression. So just it's very important to take care, to use self-care.
Does anybody have anything else to add? I do have another question here from one of our grad students. It says, I'm the only Latina in my grad program at UNCG, and sometimes I feel like I cannot connect with my peers and imposter syndrome super real. What advice is there to feel like I deserve to take up this space in grad school, even if there are no one else that looks like me or comes from a similar cultural background? Thank you.
If you don't mind, I would like to answer this question. Again, by coincidence, I identify with this person. I was the only one also when I was in my program at UNC Chapel Hill. And there were so many things that I saw that there were struggles for me, for myself. Like even when I need to say goodbye, like in Chile, we we say goodbye with a kiss in the cheeks when we say bye, and we say hello. But here was kind of like different. Like everybody stood up and left the room, and I was like, oh, okay, what's happening? Where everybody going? Things are simple. Things that other student might find absolutely normal, but for us can be a challenge. So I would say be patient with that. Just observe, learn how the dynamics are, adjust, happily adjust. I know that there might be some nostalgia, some difficult times, but think about who you are, where you're coming from, understand that we are in a different environment and there's diversity, which is good. It's good to learn from others, and that also helps you to show them in some point who you are, your culture, your charisma, and your energy. Try not to isolate yourself. I know that might feel like that, but just have an opportunity when you do groups. Don't be afraid to talk about where you're coming from, your country, love your country, where you're coming from, talk about the things that you like, and they will get interested. And if not, then you find another space. You find other friends, find a space, but don't give up. The more important thing is to keep your essence, your culture, love where you're coming from, but at the same time not hating where you in the place that you are. Or not feeling like you are like it, or like they are the enemies. Adjust, have a healthy adjustment to this school life at UNCG in this case.
Yeah, I agree with Claudio. I am also find this question very relatable. I was the only one in my program for counseling, the only Hispanic. Maybe I felt like I was the only Hispanic in the whole university. And then I thought, I was very proud of myself. That's what I thought, because I'm here representing my culture, my country, myself, my family. I feel isolated, but as Claudio said, I try to kind of like educate the other ones about my country with a lot of pride. And yet sometimes people don't care, but I will say, well, I try my best. Maybe that was not the right person, but I try, right? And so just feeling proud of yourself, feeling like, and about the imposter syndrome, yes, we feel that sometimes, but just think that you are doing something, you're a pioneer. You are breaking ground. You are somebody that you're gonna leave behind maybe a easier path for somebody else coming behind you. Just thinking it, like reframing it that way. If I'm here, it's because I'm capable. And also, come and talk to you about your feelings. Come here to talk to us about your feelings. And as Claudia mentioned, just try to use the self-care. Don't get isolated, so that you feel supported by your family, your friends, or somebody that shares your culture.
Julissa, do you have anything to add?
Well, for me, I always struggle with like imposter syndrome, because for me, I'm like the only like Latinx student in like the disciplinary honors program for HDFS. So sometimes I'm like, I don't think I deserve to be here, because I read all of these like research papers and I'm like, I don't think I'm capable of doing that. But then I like reflect and I reread over my work, and then I let like my friends and some of my close friends read, and that this is amazing. And I'm like, okay, it's amazing. I feel validated. I feel like I'm good enough to do it, and I deserve to be here. And just because like it's okay to have that imposter syndrome, because it's okay sometimes to feel like you're not like good enough, but sometimes you have to realize that you are good enough and that you are worthy of being in these spaces. And like similar to what Claudio and Cecilia said, that you have to embrace your culture and find all of the positive things in your culture, so you can elevate your culture and yourself. Because for me, one of my biggest goals is to like talk about the positive aspects in the Latinx culture, because like all the time in the media you see all the negative sides about like, oh, like they drop out of school, they're gangsters, they're this and this. And for me, I want to know that you have to talk about the positive sides too. You have to embrace that. And like the more people see the positive side, the more they'll see that, oh, this culture is amazing. And that's what I want to do. And that's what you should also do. Share the positive sides of your culture.
That's beautiful. I learned the other day in one of our chats with the Women's Leadership Network here on campus, and Provost Storrs was speaking about imposter syndrome. And one of the questions or comments I made, I said, so imposter syndrome never leaves. So you're meaning to tell me that we will deal with this moving forward forever? And yes, but Cecilia gave the perfect, tool. It is about reframing the narrative that you have in your mind and replaying that tape again and again so that you know that you are occupying a space that you are meant to be in. So keep at it. You've got this. There is nobody in this world that does not come to this imposter syndrome dilemma. We all come to it and it keeps going, but reframing is the best resource that you have for yourself. So I have a counseling question. It says, so I have a counselor at the moment, but I am not sure it's a good fit. And sometimes sometimes it takes some time, but how long should you continue with a counselor before requesting a change?
That's a very good question. I mentioned that to some of my students, if you don't feel that we are clicking or making that connection, it's okay with me. It's not personal. It makes sense. We are human beings. You need to feel comfortable. And sometimes it may not be culturally, it's just the personality. And I just try to engage the students in that conversation, especially if I notice that there's like a barrier, like you can tell that there's a wall there. And sometimes it's gender, sometimes it's age, experiences. That's why our bio is on our website, so that you know what type of experience we have. I had a student saying, I need a male counselor. Okay. And I just try to make them comfortable, but just have that conversation with your counselor. You can say, I'm not feeling it and it's not personal. I would like to switch. So you can switch at any point, because see, that's a professional relationship. And if you don't, if it doesn't start at the beginning, and if you are not making any progress, it's very likely that it's not gonna change. So, but you can change at any time. You can switch counselors if you feel that, because it's the time together. Every time that you go in session, you are vulnerable. And if you're working without counselors, switching is like a start all over again with that therapeutic relationship. So it will be important to have that conversation as soon as possible.
And it is not uncommon that this question or concern arise in our experience as therapists. We have had people that said, oh, thank you for all the things that you have done for me, or I'm very grateful about these sessions. And we have other times that there's not like a fit, and people have said, oh, can I switch therapists? Actually, I wanted to talk with a female therapist in my case, but I never have the courage to tell that I didn't want to talk with a male. So be open. We need to understand that it's part of the game. But if you don't know how to say it, if you feel like, oh, I don't know how to be so direct, you can just say that we feel like you would like to try something different, or you don't have to give an explanation sometimes. It's normal that for private reason or personal reasons you would like to see a different therapist.
Well, sometimes emailing, right, Claudio? We have received emails or telling the receptionist or the front desk person, I want to switch. If you don't want to tell us, like, to our face, that will be
exactly
fine.
Yeah, it has happened too. Like, I have seen people switching and I never knew the reason. I thought that the therapy was going fine or things were going perfectly okay, but sometimes can be related to unknown reasons, or like we were saying, like gender, and somebody didn't know how to say it, and that's okay. We respect that.
There's a question here. It says, I would like to see if faculty at UNCG could receive any sort of culturally sensitive related training. I had a teacher told me I was not a Latina because I am from Latin America. She was 100% sure I am not Latina. It was very uncomfortable for me having a faculty I respected question my identity so strongly. So I was wondering if they ever engage in these kinds of conversations to expand their perspective.
Right now, we are going through a diversity training, and my understanding is that this training is across the board. It's not only for therapists, it's for everybody. That's a diversity training that it is taking a few hours, and it addresses the type of microaggressions that we sometimes, unfortunately, do without even realizing, just becoming aware. So that will be important to, and even like that with education, some people are open, some other people are not ready to get it, to take in the information. But it's about education. It's about educating other ones in a very assertive way. You can come to the counseling center and we can role play with you how you can address this situation with your professor with all the respect and in a very professional way if you would like to engage in that type of conversation.
A follow-up question I would say then to add to this, how can we as a UNCG community help spread the word about the services that the counseling services is providing, and to minimize the stigma seeking counseling?
Well, I think one thing is like, if you're aware that someone close to you is seeking help, you can certainly encourage that friend or classmate to come to a one-time session to explore, ask questions. We welcome everybody. Sometimes people can be hesitating. Should I go? Should I not go? So if you come at least one time, you will realize that we are welcoming you, that we will answer your personal individual questions, and then the person can make the decision. And I think that could be a good strategy. Go to the counseling center and see what they say. Ask your questions and then decide, make an informed and educated decision if you would like to continue going to therapy or not. Or encouraging the student or classmate to go to the website to read what we have there, the activities. I would say that could be a good strategy. I'm not sure if Cecilia, you have other.
Yes, yeah, you're right. And I think that it's important to normalize the use of mental health services. Saying something like, a lot of people do it, even getting relevant data from the number of people that attend these services, like from statistics in the country. And saying, even sharing personal experience, like, I went, or somebody that went and got help. And as Claudia was saying, sometimes I have had students that come here in crisis, and I ask them, how do you get here? I mean, that was the first step, and it was very brave of you to do that, to take the first step. And they say, my professor walked with me all the way here to the building. I didn't know how to get here. I was afraid, I was scared. Or a friend, my RA took me here. There was one occasion. And so that was great for me to hear, because the community out there is really afraid or concerned about certain students. They observe certain behaviors. So also that's the way that UNC community can help students, if observing, as Claudia was saying, and encouraging people, even if they have to accompany them to our service, or making the phone call for the first appointment. That would be great, great support for students.
Julissa, do you have anything to add?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, having like panels like these are also important, because there's like a little safe space between our own ethnic community. And I also think that for me, I'm really open about like what's happening with my life right now to my friends. That's going to the counseling center has really been helping me. So like now, like a lot of my friends are making appointments, so that really makes me happy. And also just being open and truthful to yourself is like, you don't have to like share everything with your friends or whatever, but like share what makes you comfortable, and like that honestly, like, your story can inspire the lives of other people. So just keep that noted.
Thank you, Julissa. I have We have time for 2 more questions here. Very quickly, I have the one from our audience and then the next one, which is from me. Let's see. I was recently referred by my doctor to a counseling office, but for some reason I have not called to make an appointment. I just do not know what is holding me back. Is it possible to schedule an appointment at UNCG instead?
What do you mean at UNCG? I didn't get the last
I'm guessing
part.
that she went to her family doctor and they
Oh,
they
got you,
referred
like
her to a counseling center, but she's not made the appointment. And so they are wanting to know, you know, should I just go ahead and go here to UNCG instead of this counseling center that I was referred to?
Oh, yeah. Well, if there are students, I just want you to know that the services are covered here. We don't even file insurance. So your insurance will never know. You came to counseling, is everything confidential, and you are already on campus. We also have virtual sessions if you are at home or if you prefer to do it from home. So I think that is easier if you already have the services here. Unless you want weekly sessions, then you can go to the other place. But that will be the only difference.
Yeah, that would be the only difference if
Yeah.
that person wanna have weekly sessions. Usually, it's every 2 weeks. Sometimes at the beginning of the semester, because we're building our caseload, then we have weekly sessions. But then quickly it gets into every 2 weeks. But like Cecilia said, definitely the therapy services are included in the tuition, and also we will have psychiatry services. Those have a cost, but it's still significantly less than outside the UNCG community. So psychiatry and therapy services are available here at UNCG. No
Thank
referral needed. You just need to call and contact, schedule a phone screen.
Thank you, Claudio, Cecilia. Last question. In what other ways can the alumni community help the counseling center? So those who've already graduated, those that are long gone from UNCG, how can they help the counseling center?
Yeah, I think that, well, next semester, as I mentioned, we're gonna have our Latinx support group, and it will be great to have a guest speaker from the alumni community for them to come and share about their experience while they were in college or even after college. That would be a great support. And also another idea from my director was that to create a fund to support students who struggle to pay copays whenever they go to the community. Maybe the insurance is not paying for the copays, or they're just having a hard time with psychiatry fees. And so it will be good to create a fund for this type of needs for students.
And something more like common, like spread the word, just like simple spread the word, like a friend of yours, a neighbor talk to you. They have a daughter. Oh, my daughter. Oh, my son is at UNCG, but struggling. And so spread the word about the UNCG so we can get them a schedule.
Yeah, I think that also alumni could also like reach out to students like now, like just make connections, because like UB, I've heard like great things about you through my friends. Like they tell, oh, UB inspired me to do this and UB did that. And like I was like, who is UB? Like who's UB? And I'm like, okay. And now like seeing that, so I feel like having that connection between like alumni and like current students and how like they navigated their way through college is also really important, especially since we have like similar background stories, like ethnic group. So I feel like that's also like a connection that we want to have, because I want to have that, because sometimes I feel like I don't know if I can make it through college. And now like I talk a lot to Julisa Gonzalez, and she's been really helpful. She's always inspired me to do great things. It's like she just gives me a lot of words of affirmation, and I'm like, okay, this is like, I need more of this, and this is what I feel like a lot of people here at the university need.
And I just want to add what Julissa just mentioned, that we need more role models for the Latinx community, so they will be great ones to have here.
You're muted, Julie.
Thank you. That mentorship connection is definitely helpful to have as you are a college student, and connecting with an alum is always helpful to just have that other voice, other perspective of everything's going to be okay and you've got this. So that has been our session for today. Claudio, Cecilia, Julissa, it's been a pleasure chatting with you all this afternoon. Thank you so much for all the valuable information you've shared and your stories. The audience, thank you. If you would like to contact Claudio or Cecilia, their information is in the chat box. Please feel free to grab that. If you would like to chat or connect with me, please feel free to do so via my email, y_ARAND2@uncg.edu, and or via LinkedIn. You're welcome to connect with me there. Thanks so much y buenas tardes a todos. Muchas
Buenas
gracias.
tardes. Thank you, Yubi.
Adiós, gracias a
Bye-bye.
todos. Bye bye.
Adiós.